Okay, so AIM 6.7, what are the features of Confucianism? And again, this is more of a belief system than a religion. So you will you will be able to pick out some differences here. And we just answered, the do now question, shared out some responses from that. So away we go. All right, origin as usual. Okay, so Confucianism started between 6th and 5th centuries BCE. So this is before the birth of Christ, or before Common Era, as we call it. And it's started by a Chinese philosopher named Kong Chi, but his name eventually becomes kind of westernized to Confucius. So Kong Chi and Confucius are the same person. And like we said, this is a belief system, not necessarily a religion, and it's based very largely upon the idea of social relationships and organizations. So when they say social relationships, they're really talking about the idea that here's the thing my mother used to say to me. Don't talk to me like I'm one of your friends on the street. Maybe some of you guys have heard that from a parent or guardian before. But that's the thing that my mom used to say to me. And basically the message that they're conveying there is that there's a certain appropriate way to act with your friends, and there's a certain appropriate way to act with your parent, and there's a certain appropriate way for an employee to act with their boss. There's a certain appropriate way for a ruler to interact with their subjects, etc. And all of these kind of relationships, this forms the basis for society and a big part of the belief system in Confucianism. So it's really about social harmony based on an understanding of these relationships and what is the appropriate way to act amongst people within the confines of these relationships, I suppose is the best way to put it. And it's again, social organization and relationships. Those are the big ones. All right, I'll give you a second. We got some vocab here. All right, so here's some of those other components. So filial piety is a word that you will hear moving forward. This is the only context that you will hear it in, but basically it's ancestor worship. So it's kind of reverence for your elders. So, one's father, and then, elders from there, and even, ancestors that are, long gone, also take on kind of spiritual, significance, if you will. So that's filial piety. The social hierarchy is what we were talking about with, how you conduct yourself, within those relationships, right? So knowing where people stand amongst each other and kind of the social hierarchy that exists dictates how people should act with one another. Okay. People that are on the same plane, like two brothers, right? Or something like that, or friends, you act a certain way with them as compared to the way you would act with your boss at a job or something. That's just an example. So another part of this is what's called meritocracy. So up until Confucius, a lot of the power politically in China was about nepotism. It was a lot about relationships with people and favoritism, not necessarily through ability. So the people with the jobs in power in government often got those jobs because of who they knew and what their relationships were with those people. So a lot of it is like, favoritism. I'll do you a favor, I'll give you this job. It has nothing to do with whether or not that particular person was good at that particular thing. So another part of Confucianism is that there's a desire to do away with that system. And now people are going to get important jobs based on their ability, not through relationships and favoritism. And the way you figure that out is by putting people through a very rigorous civil service examination. So the civil service exam is a way for the government to determine who out there has the greatest ability. And people will be getting jobs based on their ability, not necessarily through their relationships. So all of this, you can see basically that, the common thread here is kind of relationships and really kind of an understanding social structure. That's really what this is about, because even the meritocracy is really about who has greatest ability to kind of lead society. That's really what it's about, right? So all of these things are kind of super important.